Hello friends, I am outside and I have just been looking at some trains. In fact, if you listen closely enough, you might even be able to hear them. Today's art lesson is how to draw a train. I'm going to take you inside to my art studio, so let's get started. For today's drawing lesson, we are going to practice drawing trains. Now, there are so many different kinds of trains. I have some pictures here of some steam trains and coal trains, and these are going to be more of your old-fashioned trains that I really like because I love all the different shapes and gadgets and wheels. And what we might be used to seeing right now these are some speed trains or some more modern trains. But for today's activity, I thought it would be really fun to draw more of an old-fashioned train. And to get started, we're going to have a practice piece of paper. So you're going to need a paper and a pencil, and in order to get started, we're going to just practice drawing some of our shapes. Whenever I draw something, I like to get familiar with the different shapes that I'm going to be drawing and using in my art. And so we're going to start out with this rectangle. A train has this basic rectangle shape. Let's just practice drawing some squares. And now let's practice drawing some circles. In order to draw a circle, well, there's a few ways to practice drawing circles. One of the ways is you can actually draw really lightly a square. If squares are easier for you, you can draw a square with equal sides. These aren't perfectly equal because I'm drawing it freehand, and that's completely okay. And then from this square, I'm going to draw a circle that touches all four lines of that square. That's going to help me get a more even circle. And it's okay to draw over your lines. You can see how I'm not doing this, although that's what we're going to practice doing in our final drawing. It might be helpful to kind of draw in a circle and then from there draw more of a final circle. Now this is going to be important because we're going to be drawing our wheels. Another part of a train, well, there's just so many different gadgets and so many different straight lines. And as I'm drawing straight lines, I like to think of a point A and a point B, and I'm going to connect those two dots to make a straight line. And you can see the dots really clearly here, but I'm just using this for practice. So in today's train exercise, we're going to be doing a series of straight lines. We're going to be doing a series of squares, series of circles, and rectangles. So let's go ahead and get started. As we're beginning our drawing, I'm going to be starting out really lightly. I'm not going to be drawing with really hard lines first. I'm going to be thinking about the basic shapes of my train. So let's think about that steam train and let's block down really lightly because you're going to want to erase this. We're going to block down a really light rectangle. And you probably are going to notice in my drawing that this rectangle is not a perfect rectangle. This rectangle is I'm blocking down this shape. So if you were to see, oh, that line's a little crooked, that line's a little crooked, and it's okay to go over your lines several times because we just always have our handy eraser on hand. And I'm not going to do a lot of erasing right now. I'm going to be blocking in my shapes first, but we are going to be erasing. So get ready to erase if you want. This is going to be the basic body of our train. Now, at the back end of that first car, we want to have the compartment where our train master is going to drive our train. So we're going to have this as our compartment. This is a taller rectangle, and then our longer rectangle, just like that. And from here, we're going to now start blocking in where those wheels go. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, and you might just need to use some practice, and we're going to start out really lightly. So my train is going to have, see, I'm erasing already. My train is going to have 3 bigger wheels and then 2 smaller wheels right about here. So let's go ahead and block in those bigger wheels. Another thing you can do is if you want, you can lay down where you think your train tracks are going to go really lightly. to give you a baseline for where that wheel is going to go. Now, what do you guys know about train wheels? They're not like car wheels where they're really separated far out. They're actually connected. They're connected by some gears, so they're not actually touching, but they're really, really close. So you see how I'm drawing really lightly and my lines are overlapping a little bit? This is going to help me to block in my shapes. I'm not being worried about getting an exact circle because I know if I try to draw an exact circle, I'm going to probably mess up and my lines will be hard and it will be difficult to erase. So I'm just blocking in those lines. Now after that, we're going to have two smaller circles here and here. And these smaller circles are going to be right in front of a grate, which just for design purposes, and then this is how I often have seen trains. We're going to have this shape like this, and then you know what I'm talking about, right? This is going to be that front grate of the train that will help to protect it, stop it, and it's got these lines right here. So there is our grate. So we have our two circles, our three bigger circles, and then to finish off on this side, in order to give a sense of what we're going to draw next, I'm going to block in this door. This door for our train master is going to go right about here. And this is a really tall distance. It's almost impossible to jump onto a train. And if you've ever seen anyone like in a movie try to jump on a train, it's really hard because the train car is actually really high up off the ground. And so what you'll see on a doorway to a train car or to this this compartment here is a ladder, and the ladder is not going to touch the ground all the way, obviously, because we don't want it to drag, but it's going to be just enough that you can step on. So here we have our door, our ladder, and then we blocked in our wheels. Okay, let's go ahead and block in the rest of the shapes. Now at the front of our train car, this box right here, a lot of times you'll see a round shape or a triangular shape. I'm going to do a little bit of a mix of both. So right at the middle, you're going to measure right here, right at the middle of this box. We're going to go like this, mark the middle, and I'm going to draw a little kind of dot right here, and I'm going to mark that triangle. This is going to help me get a nice even triangle at the front of my train. And then from here, I'm going to make just a little bit of a rectangle that you can see. And we're going to be finishing this off in a second. Okay, now for our, I don't know, let's call them chimneys. I'm not a technician, and you guys can correct me on the correct name. This is going to be the smokestack or the chimney for our train. And we're going to have a big one right here. What I've done is I've drawn a rectangle and then a diagonal line, and then I've connected it right up here at the top. And now I've got a little space right here, and often you're going to see other stacks, and I'm going to draw these shapes right here. You can see these half shapes, and I'm going to finish it off with a little bit of a rectangle so that it feels more finished. And I'm going to do the same on here. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just drawing these two lines on the side, just like so. Okay, let's go ahead and put in some more defined lines in our train now that we have it more blocked out. We haven't done everything, but this is a really good start. So now we're going to go left to right. Let's go ahead and work on this train master car. So I'm going to draw my lines in now that I know I want my train master car right here. I'm going to draw this in, and I'm going to draw over the lines that I've sketched out. Now because I want to add some detail, I'm going to be doing shape within a shape. This shape within a shape is going to give me some more detail to things like the door, to the wheels. This is going to be the frame of the door, the frame of the window. Maybe I want to add some lines here for detail and a little bit of detail on the side as though you're seeing the back of the car, that train car. And now I'm going to give it a little bit of a roof line. This is going to just add some character to our train. Let's draw in those harder lines for our ladder. And we have got that section of the car. Now we're going to go ahead and draw in the wheels. I've sketched in these circles and I'm going to draw over that outline to get my 3 big wheels. And once again, these don't have to be exact, but sketching in them in lightly is going to really help. So now I'm going to do circle within a circle, and I'm going to give that outer portion of a wheel. And again, I'm not being super exact. I'm using my eye to do the best circle that I can. We don't want it to be perfect. If it was perfect, it would be done on the computer, or it would be done digitally, or not by hand. So this is going to give us our wheels. So now that we've drawn in the wheels, there are some really cool parts about a train that make it different than a car or a truck, and that is the gears that make all these wheels work together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the center. I'm going to draw the center of these wheels. Now, just like a bicycle, these wheels are going to have spokes. These spokes are going to be much more industrial than on a bicycle. They're going to be made out of metal and they're going to be very hefty. And I'm going to draw those in. This is going to be right down the center of those wheels. And now that I've blocked in the 4 perpendicular spokes, now I'm going to go at a diagonal and I'm going to make those diagonal spokes. It's much easier to get all of them in when you start with a straight line vertical and a straight line horizontal, and then you do the diagonal, because if you start doing them all the way around, it's really easy to get them uneven. So I would suggest drawing them vertical and then horizontal and then cutting those circles in half. Now let's draw in those gears. I want to start with a bolt right here at the bottom of the train, this wheel, and this is going to connect to the bottom of that train wheel. So just like we practiced with our straight lines, now we're going to draw a straight line across right here, and that's where this first gear is going to connect. I'm going to draw over that line so that it's a little bit darker. Now from here, this particular gear has to rotate through, so we're going to draw a dot right at the top of this wheel and the top of that wheel. Just follow along. It's going to be a connect the dot game. And then a dot right here on the bottom of that spoke. From here, we're going to draw a line to connect, and a line to connect, and a line to connect. And so now you've made a diamond. And these particular lines are how these 3 wheels are going to work together to spin. We're going to do the same thing here on these 2 wheels, except because it's just 2, we're going to draw a line on the bottom, a dot on the bottom and a dot on the bottom here. And now we're going to connect those 2 wheels together. And these ones are going to connect a little bit less intricately, and we're going to make a triangle like this. All right, let's finish off our train car. This is where it starts to get fun, and this is where you can really use your imagination to draw all kinds of compartments or gadgets. And so I'm going to let my imagination think about how this train works. I'm going to draw a line across here to kind of break up some of these compartments, and I'm going to be thinking about all those things that have to happen in a train, that front train car, for a train to work. So maybe I can draw a connection from here to here. Maybe there's something coming out of the trainmaster's car that's going to go into this main engine. And maybe from this particular smokestack, we're going to have a little compartment, a little tube that's going to connect down to here, and maybe there is a little jagged tube right here with a bolt. Maybe we have a spare ladder. Maybe on this side there's a spare ladder just in case you need to get into another train car when the train is stopped, and maybe all the train cars don't have ladders and you have a spare right there. Drawing straight lines connected together and maybe squares connected together, as well as some circles, will start to lay down the groundwork for having all the details that you'd want to find in your train. Now to finish this off, I'm going to go ahead and draw in that baseline of that train track. A train track doesn't look like much from the side, but I can draw two straight lines like this to get me my train track. Now I have drawn this Trainmaster's door open, but you know what? I'm going to draw it closed because we want to keep him safe inside. So I'm going to draw a handle here. And because he's got to climb up, I'm going to draw two little handles. I don't know if you can see that on the side for him to grab onto while he's climbing up. And there we have our train car.